Tonight we'll discuss the case study for Polaris Industries. Interesting case, deals with a lot of stuff that actually I've dealt with throughout the years in my current role. So it was interesting to me and interesting to see it coming from another perspective. So let's get right into it by answering the questions. Why does Polaris outsource most component manufacturing but insource the final assembly? On the other hand, consider companies that opt for nearly 100% vertical integration. Why do these companies choose this route despite many companies outsourcing at least some of their manufacturing? Polaris chooses to, in my opinion, outsource their small parts mostly because of economic factors, simply because their source can specialize and produce the parts that they need at a lower cost. Companies that may choose for 100% integration do so because of risk factors involved in outsourcing, highly proprietary information mainly. Some of these companies do it strategically to keep up with the 100% and made in the USA tag. Which locations offer Polaris the greatest cost savings? Justify the answer with the spreadsheet calculations provided template. And this one, my findings were that the most cost-effective option for outsourcing was the Mexico location, which was interesting to me because we don't really use a lot of manufacturing from Mexico currently. I know there have been some big, actually John Deere moved a location to Mexico recently, so that's falls right in line with that. So I'm going to attach my my whole spreadsheet template to this discussion as well, but I have a snapshot of what I found on the next slide. It shows here that the savings actually were quite substantial by moving to having a manufacturing facility in Mexico, outsourcing to Mexico. China was right behind. Both of them had significant savings. The Mexico was better due to the tariff mainly. So there's the calculation, a little snapshot of what I came up with on that. The next question was based on the sensitivity analysis. Tend to remain the analysis. Conduct a sensitivity analysis, to evaluate the robustness of your initial solution. Based on this analysis, do you reconsider your initial recommendation? Based on the sensitivity analysis, Mexico tends to be the best cost savings until the transportation costs reach $3.85 per mile to move products from Mexico to the U.S. DCs. I did break it down, but I did two different costs. I did the transportation costs, and I also did the tariff adjustment. The tariff adjustment showed Mexico was the benefit the whole way, I guess, based on my calculations. As far as the numbers I came up with, Mexico was still better, even if there was a 0% tariff. And I provided a little snapshot of that on the next slide as well. Here you see that it's Mexico all the way down to $3.85, and then it's Mexico all the way down. I went to 19% as far as the analysis is concerned there on the tariff. What other qualitative factors should Polaris team consider making the manufacturing location recommendations? In my opinion, the Polaris team should focus on the risk factors and strategic factors to determine the best course. The economic factors were proven out by the spreadsheet breakdown of the case. Their team should evaluate the risks involved in manufacturing outside the United States. there are a number of differences in manufacturing work conditions between countries, and these should be considered. We see that we saw that actually in our in the documentary that we were watching this week as well. That they actually visited the China facility and were blown away by the lack of the health and safety concerns for their employees. These things should be considered. You wouldn't want to get a bad reputation due to something that could have been evaluated beforehand. They also have the ability to currently say that Polaris equipment is manufactured in the U.S., which would carry a lot of meaning in the U.S. market. They actually stated that in the case study as well. There was also a mention of ease of communication. I think that there would be a little bit of a barrier when it comes to that if you move your facility or have a facility in another country. There's always a little bit of a language barrier involved there, and that was seen in the documentary as well. So those are all my findings as far as the case study is concerned. It was interesting case study to see what all was involved in trying to figure out. I'm sure there's a whole lot more than what we've looked at. We just got a little bit of a snapshot there. So like I said, it's quite interesting. That was my breakdown, and thank you, and have a good evening.